everybody, it's Dalton here and welcome back to Arrowhead Tech. Today we're going to be talking more about intrusion prevention and detection systems. This is going to be more of just a demonstration. This isn't a tutorial and this isn't a talk. This is more of a confidence demonstration video, so you will get to see what the attacker sees whether you have an IPS enabled or you don't. And this is kind of to help answer the question, how do I know if it's working? Or how can I trust an IPS to do the job that I want it to do? And the answer is yes. The answer is you can trust them. And this is what this video is about. It's to demonstrate what the attacker will see and how the attack will respond. And how all that will react. So we'll go ahead and hop right into it. So as you can see, I have two operating systems running at once using virtual machines. I use Oracle VirtualBox, and it's really good, but there's some others. It's its own flavor. But enough about that. I have my test server running on one. It's running Ubuntu LTS 2004. It used to run on 1804, and then I updated it not too long ago. And then on the other side, on the right-hand side, I have Kali Linux. And this is my attack computer. And just note, I am not trying to teach you how to attack somebody. This is just so you can see what the attacker will see if you have an intrusion prevention system set up to block it. This is not a tutorial on how to attack. So don't be using this as a means to attack somebody. Please don't. This is for offensive security only. It's not trying to attack somebody because it's illegal. So I did redo my network configuration so we don't have any issues because my gaming router does block the type of attack that we are going to do. So I had to do some configuration changes. And just to make sure that the connection is solid, I'm going to find out what my server's IP address is using ifconfig for Linux-based systems. Alright, it gives us the status of every NIC or virtual NIC or interface. And it should be 192.168.1.5 right there. So go ahead and ping it and make sure that the machines can see each other. So we'll ping it on Kali Linux 168.1.5. And it looks like the machines can see each other as we have ping data coming back, which is good. That is very good. So we'll go ahead and Control C. Now we can actually begin playing with this. So go ahead, get that out. So as you notice we have HTOP on the test server. This is HTOP. It works kind of like Windows Task Manager, only it's command line based and not GUI based. And as you can see, we have a 1 and a 2 on the top left hand corner. We have 1 and 2. That's our processor's cores and what percentage of load they are under, or their stress level. And then beneath those two numbers we have MEM, that is memory, also known as your RAM, and how much of RAM or memory is being used at one time. And then we have SWP, which is swap, and that practically is a reserved space on the hard drive for the operating system to use as memory. And it's more of it's a thing that's tailored for Linux-based systems. You can partition Windows to do the same, but it's a lot harder. But this comes standard for most Linux operating systems. So now you know what you're looking at besides all of the numbers and letters populating beneath that. That's every task that's going on live time. So what we're going to be looking for is RAM usage, because the attack that's loaded on my attack computer on the right hand side is an SMB Loris. And what we're going to do is that we're going to attempt to overload the secure message block, or the messaging block of our target server. And it's practically used for just if you have a message block. Normally it's for Windows, but it's so you can connect to your printer or computer to computer. It's a really simple setup. But we're going to be trying to flood that with information and practically deny that service. That's what a DOS is, a denial of service. We're going to use that to test this. And what this is going to do is going to try and exhaust the RAM, or the memory, of our target. So it's going to try and make the server run out of RAM and crash upon itself. And if it doesn't, it at least makes it more stressed for RAM, so its resources are more limited, and it kind of, how can I say this? It makes the response time of the service like a lot longer. It makes the service less reliable. It degrades it, if you know what I mean. So enough explaining. Let's set this up. So we'll do show options on the Kali Linux, because we do not want this escaping and hurting somebody else. So we have no remote host set up. That's what rhost means. If you see it, there's rhost. And that's just your target information. We don't have any of that, so we'll go set rhost. And we'll need this to be that IP address. I have config again, just to make sure that I remember. And we have 192.168.1.5, so I'll type in 192.168.1.5 and make sure they match. 1.5, 192.168.1.5. Yep, we're all good to go. When you're ready, you hit enter and then show options again. Now we can see we have 192.168.1.5, which is the address of our target server, and port 445. That is your SMB port, which is what we're going to be targeting. And now that our target is all good to go, to pull the trigger, you just type in exploit. That is not what I wanted. So let me get back htop again. We got new terminal, htop. Excellent. Now we go back to the other server and we type in exploit. When you hit enter, this will pull the trigger and execute the attack. So what's going to happen is that we will now exploit. And before I do this, I'll let you know that this test server does not have an IPS on this. There's no protection. It's just the firewall with this port opened. So this is if you have no protection. And here we go. This says starting server. It finds its host. It opens all the sockets. And then it finds its limit, and then it floods it with information. And as you can see, our RAM usage has jumped from the 1 level that it was at to 2. Now this isn't a whole lot. This server is pretty strong, at least when it comes to RAM. I mean, obviously, you gamers out there, you're used to having 32 gigs of RAM or more, when this only has relatively 8. But it's a pretty weak attack, so it's not going to really hurt the server much, but if you noticed, even the processor has jumped up in usage. So it is stressing it a little bit, although not much. So they might notice a delay in response times for the services. But that's practically what an SMB Loris does to an unprotected machine. And then to tell Kali Linux to cease the attack, just hit Control-C at least twice or more. And you see the processor idles down and the RAM backs off and it's all good to go. So that's what it will do. Now I will show you what happens against a computer or a server that is set up to defend against it. And we'll go ahead and use this server still, and we'll just SSH into my other server, and I'll do that momentarily. So now we have htop on my live server. Now this server is actually the one I am hosting my website, drive, all this other stuff on. This is a live server that is running, currently active, and it is set up with an intrusion prevention system set up. And literally SMB Loris's is one of the DOSes that this IPS is designed to look for and defend against. So we're going to go ahead and change our rhost in Kali Linux, set rhost to 192.168.1.2. That is its local address, not the test server, the live one. Set and exploit. Now we should get a different reaction. We shouldn't be able to get as far as opening the sockets, and if it does, it won't get far or it won't be effective. So we'll hit exploit in 3, 2, 1. It says starting server. And as you note, there is no real increase in RAM usage as seen in the previous time with the test server's HTOP. So it's still within the 16 gig mark as compared to jumping up to 2. And as you notice on the Kali Linux side of things over here, it's still trying to start the server. And it's because it's not finding that solid connection because Suricata is blocking its attack. And as you can see, there might be a RAM usage increase because Suricata is responding to it and is dropping it. But it's not as bad. In fact, it's hardly even noticeable to the actual operation of the server. And that is practically what will happen if the attacker is being denied or blocked, or also known as rejected or dropped. However, right now it is set to drop, and I will explain this whenever I get to the tutorial of how to set up an IPS or IDS. And I'll actually explain what each word means when it comes to telling the IPS how to react. But this is just a good demonstration so you can have confidence that the system does work. This is how it's supposed to respond. That's what the attacker will see, at least for this specific attack. If you get Kali Linux, you can find it on their website. It is free. But just please note, it is just to test your network. It is not meant to attack other people. So the only time in the United States where it's legal to do this to somebody is if you have their literally express permission, either verbal, written, however you agree to do it. But make sure you get their permission first for when, the time frame you're going to attack, and make sure they agree to it. Otherwise, if you're caught red-handed, you can get in some very serious trouble. And as we can see, it actually had an issue. It actually tried to send a packet, but the connection timed out, so now it's trying to open some sockets. But that's literally, it's going to take a really long time to do it, and if it ever goes through. But thank you for watching this. Please note that this is just a confidence test, so you can feel confident with this going forward. The next video should be how to set them up, and we'll use our wonderful test server to actually set it up. And it should be a fun time. So thank you for watching. Please feel free to like or subscribe if you want to see more. Please visit my website at arrowheadtech.net to actually see some written guides that a friend of mine will be working on in the near future upon these tutorials and demonstrations. And I will see you guys the next time. Good luck and God bless.